3, 2, 1. Ok. Boa tarde a todos, pessoal. Sejam bem-vindos a mais uma sessão comentada do 16º Fantaspoa. E para quem quiser assinar aqui o canal do YouTube, estamos à disposição. E aí vocês vão sempre receber o lembrete de quando tivermos outras lives. Temos mais uma 5 e uma 6 hoje à tarde. No caso, a 5 é do Cerro dos Deuses e a 6 é do filme Cabrito. E estamos agora em contato direto com a África do Sul para falar com os produtores James C. Williamson e o Ryan Kruger do Fritado. Hello, hello.
I love to hear you say that. Fritado.
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 Thank you for having us, Joao, and thank you for having us at the festival. It's been such an amazing experience so far, and the feedback from the audience and just the response has been so incredible. And
that's great.
This has been so amazing so far.
Thank you so much for being here. And the film is amazing. People are just loving the film. And honestly, since Friday, you have about 1.7 thousand views, and it's the film that's been watched the most. It's basically 400 people watching it a day, every day.
What?
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, so far that's great. I mean, during the the past, since it's gone up in the past few days, the amount of people that has messaged me or tagged me or tagged the Fry Barry page or Instagram or Twitter and Facebook, it's been crazy. It's been amazing. And then a lot of the people that have reached out to me and said, "Oh, we love the film. It's great." And I messaged a lot of them. And today I spent the day with Gary, Mr. Fry Barry, and basically I shot a lot of thank you call out, shout outs to to the people that have watched it. So yeah, it was cool, and their reaction was pretty cool.
To anyone who wants a shout out from Gary, if you can get Gary to do anything you want, just message Ryan Kruger.
You can call your mom
on Instagram. Yeah, you can phone your mom. He can he can be your voicemail. He can voice your GPS, whatever you want.
And the message keeps coming here that the film is amazing and that they think that the film is quite unique. And there is one thing that it was particularly interesting for us is that there's a journalist here from our town he's a cool guy, but he's, let's say, more into regular films. And he watched about 35 feature films from the festival, and he's never been able to do that. He's been able to do that due to the quarantine. And he posted Fried Berry as one of his top 10 choices among the 35 films that he's seen.
Amazing. That's so great to hear. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the film is that, it is technically a horror film, but it sort of mashes up so many genres and so many feelings.
It has a bit of everything.
And you don't
sorry, James, go.
And you don't expect it based on the trailer and based on the images and looking at Gary, but Fried Barry is actually such an hilarious film. You are laughing all the way throughout the film.
Yeah, it's unpredictable. A lot of dark humor. I mean, you've got those elements of horror. You've got the elements of sci-fi. I mean, there's even a love story in there as well. So I mean, it's a bit of everything.
So tell people how was the path from the short film to the feature film. I think that this is one. I don't know if the people who are watching us right now or the people who are watching it later on know that before it was a short film.
Yeah. So in 2017, we shot the 3-minute experimental short film, which I've worked with Gary for about 11 years now, and he's just been like an extra in a lot of my stuff. And then he's got like a one-liner, and his parts grown over the years. And then I decided to do Fry Barry the short, and that was like the first thing that Gary's done that, you know, he was the main person in, and he did. I worked very close with him, and he just did so good on the short. And then when I took the short to film festivals, we had like 60 official selections around the world. We had 13 awards, and then we started getting all this fan art. So it just, I think after the film, it just, we never ever planned to make a feature film of Fried Barry. It was just a standalone experimental film, edgy, gritty. And then when it came to, you know, later on, and I've always wanted to make a feature film, and I've got plenty of scripts, and me and James have got plenty of scripts of what films we could make. But it was literally a month before shooting, I got this idea, and I only knew James for about a month. It was literally about a month. And we shot one experimental film together, and I got this idea. I wrote a scene, 50% of a scene breakdown for the movie, very, very, very brief, where it was like, Barry goes here, Barry goes there, he does this, and then that was it. And then I wrote about 6 pieces of dialogue, and I rang James up, and me and James, we hardly knew each other. We got on really well straight away. And then I said, for where I was in my career, I was like, I need to make a film. I need to do it. And I need to do it now. It's never going to happen. So I rang James and I said, dude, I want to make a feature film, and I want to make it next month. And James was like, well, have you got a script? And I'm like, no. And he goes, why haven't you got a script? And I was like, well, I have to shoot the movie in a certain way to make it work, because Gary's not a trained actor. And we also wanted to be, you know, to have that improv and be spontaneous and organic, and a very collaborative film working, you know, with all the crew. And we had such an amazing crew, such an amazing cast. And a month later, we started shooting. And I was like, the first day of shooting, me and James was like, we're making a movie. We can't believe we're making it. And then it was halfway through. It was like, I can't believe we're halfway through. And then it was the end, and it was like, oh my God, we finished the movie. And then cut to half a year down the line, and then we're in San Jose, CineQuest in America, doing the premiere. So it was crazy, wasn't it, James? It just happened so quick. Like long, but it was also quick.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds crazy to shoot a film without a script that just basically had a scene breakdown. But looking back, we wouldn't want to do it any other way, because this was just such a unique way to shoot a movie. And just working with Gary, it was, like Ryan said, it was the only way it could work. And it's like, as we were shooting the movie, the story in the movie was revealing itself to us, and we were building on it as we shot. And, you know, we would have an idea and be like, wouldn't it be cool if suddenly this happened, or there was this twist in the tale, and we could do it. Because we didn't have a script that we had to stick to, and we didn't have, you know, a studio telling us what to do.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the same. The film wouldn't be the same.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was meaning to ask you. So you didn't have no dialogue written. That's pretty much all at the moment, right?
Well, I wrote 6 pieces of dialogue, and that was it. That's it. 6 actors, and that was written as we were going. So yeah, it was only 6 pieces of dialogue. Everything else was with the actors in the moment, and said, okay, let's do this. Great idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. So we were so open and so free to do anything we wanted to do. And even, I mean, you remember, James, when we shot the supermarket scene, there was this, you know, we shot the supermarket scene one way, and then I got this great idea, and then we just turned it around and said, right, we're going to make it that the girl in the supermarket, you know, is flirting with them and really wants them. And it was just so much better. And that was a split decision in 5 minutes, not even when we were already shooting the other scene. And it just worked.
I think that so much of the film comes from this spontaneity. It's very spontaneous, and you can feel that. And I think it brings, apart from his character, which is amazing, and the way that he's such a character actor, but the things that you really let it flow. And this is one of the things that's so strongly being missing in cinema right now, you know?
Yeah. Well, me and James's aim was also to not make it predictable. I mean, we watch so many films these days where we're like, this is going to happen or this is going to happen. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to make the audience, not know where the movie is going, but in a good way, that you're entertained the whole time. And it's just too unpredictable. Like 1 minute this is happening, and then he's in the mental institute. This is happening, and then we're over here. So it's just totally spontaneous and unpredictable, and not know, where it's heading, and just to keep the audience, on the edge of the seats, but seated and entertained.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't set out to make a horror or to make a comedy or to make a sci-fi. We just had this crazy story that we wanted to tell, and it kind of just unfurled as it went. And we weren't trying to think like, like what's the target audience gonna like, like what's gonna be commercially viable, what's gonna be tasteful. Yeah. We were just like, fuck it, just pull it all out there.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that you really have as a differential here in your film is that sometimes it works, but it's, let's say, it became nowadays more and more mechanic. A work where you have, let's say, an horror comedy, a sci-fi horror. No, you have a really huge mashup. You mentioned that there is even a love story, but there is also drama, and there are many things here. You can see, let's say, if you want, just as an alien film or just like a drug addict film, you can see it as you want, because there are so many things that are taking place at the same time.
Yeah. Well, there's so many people, like there's so many references, like 80s references that I grew up with and, and love. There's so many 80s references, whether it's Aliens or Terminator or Explorers or Starman. There's loads, E.T. And, a lot of people that have watched it keeps mentioning, it's like a gritty train spotting, but there's also, the sci-fi element. And even when we were in America, people were saying, "Oh yeah, it's like E.T. meets Trainspotting," and then somebody said it the other day again, and I was like, "Yeah, it's like E.T. If E.T. slept with Trainspotting and got an STD and then had a baby, it would be fine."
I think that this is one of the powers of the film, is that you can't really do, let's say, one punchline, one line. It's like these and these. No, it's so much. There are so many things in there. Yeah. And in that sense, there are two questions here, and I think this comes in very handy.
Okay, could you explain the meaning of some of the most abstract scenes?
He's probably talking about the scene in the cardboard hallway.
Okay.
And
do you want to go for that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, people might think that there's a lot of these scenes in the movie that are just there for the sake of being weird, and they kind of are. But there's a logic and there's a kind of thought and story behind everything that we've put in there. Obviously with the guy that we call the prophet, he's the dude in the hat that is like dancing in the hallway. He is like the kind of David Lynch type reference in the film.
And he's like the gateway in between the two worlds for Fry Barry, and
he's like an ambassador. He's an ambassador for the aliens, and if we want to get really specific, that scene where he's dancing in the cardboard hallway does actually have a meaning. It's actually him telling Barry that he needs to go home because his body is degrading. Yeah. And even though it might be a little bit obscure and difficult to figure out, the meaning is there.
Yeah. Well, even when he turns around in that scene and we see the two guys wrapped in like cling film and they're shaking on the chairs. I mean,
that's about global warming.
Yeah, it's all about global warming. I mean, that was a reference from Bad Boy Bobby, and that was one of our references.
Yes, and that was the other question.
Yeah, because he wraps the cat up in the the Kling film.
Maybe Bad Boy Bubby. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he picked up on it. Awesome.
That's cool.
So, and I think it's interesting because when you bring those references, let's say even Bad Boy Bobby, they are not references that everybody knows, you know?
Yeah.
So,
this guy knew them.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Bad Boy Bubby is, like, when Ryan was first sort of pitching the movie to me, I was just like, okay, it's this weird guy, like, walking around for most of the film, like, getting into these weird situations. I don't know how this is gonna work when we get into the edit room. But then I watched Bad Boy Bubby, and I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be brilliant. Like, I actually can't wait to start editing this, because I mean,
even Barry's son is called Bubby as well.
Yeah, that's one of the questions, because this is a film. It's an amazing film, and I think that very few people watch it. And you were bringing it here, let's say, it's 27 years later, and it's an Australian indie film, and you were putting it into a South African film with a character that, let's say, pretty much nobody in the world can imagine, which I don't know, I've never seen a drug addict being abused by an alien.
Exactly. I mean, when we were in the States and we were going to all the like after parties and stuff, and talking to all the film people, there were so many people that came up to me and James, and they saw Fry Barry in the program, and they were like, drug addict gets abducted by aliens, I'm fucking in. Like, I'm in. I want to watch that movie. So I think that's what was cool about it. But I think, like, the character Fry Barry himself is, for me, it's almost like a superhero. He's just like, he's got his like suit, he's got his like denim, that's his look. He's got the denim jacket, he's got his jeans, and that's his thing, and he's got that look that nobody nobody looks like Gary. That's the thing. He's got such a unique face, and nobody looks like him. So it's just like, straight away, it's just like, that's Barry, that's Fry Barry. He's probably going to get called Fry Barry probably for the rest of his life.
Right now, I've just checked the name IMDb because I think it's amazing the fact that he's in another 2 films, right?
Sorry, say it again.
Gary is acting in another 2 films right now.
So Gary's background is he's an extra. He's normally an extra on set.
Okay.
So, and here and there over the years, he gets a little featured part where
you got to get those IMDb credits though.
Yeah.
Got to put them all up there.
Yeah. So sometimes he's, there'll be a shot of him or whatever, or he'll shout at somebody or whatever, and Gary's been around doing extras. Like, anything that gets shot in Cape Town, Gary's in the background. It's like,
he's honestly, he's a little bit notorious in the Cape Town film industry.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of known as this extra that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, like always walking around in the background. Yeah. And when we tell people who know him from the film industry, like, Gary Green is the lead in the film, they're like, what? Yeah, Gary Green is the lead in your film?
They can't believe it. But it's like, it's a total underdog story, like, completely with Gary, like, completely.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's because of the way that you shoot it, let's say, just the breakdown that you just mentioned to me, or if it's just the fact that he was able to do wherever he does being himself, but he's amazing in the film. You just mentioned you couldn't imagine of any other actor giving so much to the part.
Yeah, it was either Christopher Walken, but me and James, we went for like Gary.
I won't work with Christopher anymore.
Yeah, it was either that or William Dafoe as well, but we're like, we're gonna go for Gary. And
but I mean, Gary, it was like almost a 30-day shoot, and you saw some of the things that we put him through, like getting covered in slime, multiple sex scenes, crawling along the side of a highway wearing nothing but wearing nothing but a hospital gown, and he's literally crawling around in like the dirt and the rocks, and there's like a fucking like needle lying around in the ground. And he never complained once. He was such a trooper all the way through, and he gave the film 150%.
Every take that we did, I mean, he would want to do another take, and I'm like, Gary, I've got it. I've got it. But at the same time, because of our training, which is fine, I like working with actors with that haven't trained as an actor, but I had to work like super close with Gary, and Gary didn't know anything until he was on set that day or any day. He didn't know what we were doing until I told him what we were doing. So I didn't want to fill his head or give him a script. There was no script, but I didn't want him to overthink anything. So it would just be in the moment. So I said to Gary, like, you know, watch Bad Boy Bubby, watch Edward Scissorhands for his character, where, you know, the way he moves and walks around. Look at Starman, and, you know, there was all these references that I gave him, but that's it. And then I just had to work with him like super closely, because sometimes with a non-trained actor, you know, they'll overthink stuff. So it would be like in the moment, okay, this is what we're gonna do. It's like, don't do this, don't do that, forget about that. And it was nice to have like a clean slate, like every day with him when we were in. So we were just in the moment, and I think it was very important to do that. Otherwise, it wouldn't come up, you know, wouldn't come off the same. But because he also didn't have a lot of dialogue in the movie, which was obviously on purpose, because, you know, again, he's not a trained actor, so he's still getting used to doing dialogue and stuff like that. But that's again why I molded the whole movie around him to make him work. But I think Gary was interested, wasn't he, James, with some of the simple things was like hard things. Some of the, it was vice versa. Sometimes something will be hard and he can get it done. Something would be super simple. It was like the fucking hardest fucking thing ever. But he was amazing. Me and James loved working with him, and he gave 150% every take. And he just wanted it. He knew that this was his shot. You know, he knew that this was his shot, and he had to be the best. And we all felt like that about all of our jobs. So everybody was just bringing the A game, and I think that's what made the whole film special. And even some of the actors, it was crazy. Like, if you remember, Paul Snodgrass, he was saying to us, one of the actors in the bar, and he was like, "There's something special about this movie. I don't know what it is, but there's something special." And quite a few actors said that, and I was always like, "Well, yeah, what is it? Just tell me what it is," because
I would like to know.
Yeah, and like I knew there was something special about this movie when we were making it, and not only because it's my first film. Like, I've put so much heart and energy and tears and fucking depression and fucking everything into this movie. I put literally my fucking soul into this movie, but there was something on set when we were shooting that we knew we had something really good. And that's why I said, when people said that to me, I wanted to pick their brain and go, "Well, tell me what is it? Like, what do you think it is?" And they're just like, "I don't know, man, but there's something very special about this movie." I remember like that. Yeah. So, but that was nice. It was nice to hear, you know, people on set, you know, they really enjoyed themselves. And I mean, Gary got to work with some of the biggest, like, South African actors, you know, playing smaller roles, and Gary's like this lead guy.
It's a vice versa.
Yeah. And I said to Gary on the very first day, I mean, we were about to shoot this sex scene. It was like one of the first scenes I think we shot. But I said to Gary, I said, "Listen," I said, "you know, you deserve to be here, and you're meant to be here. You're not here by mistake. Like, you are the best person for this job. And don't be intimidated by all these other, like, well-known actors, and now you're the lead." I said, "You're meant to be here, and you deserve it. And it's no mistake. Like, you're going to be amazing at this. Just listen to me very carefully, and we'll go on this journey together. But I know you're going to be great, and I know people are going to love you." And he was like, you know, I think you could see he was taken back a bit, but he was also like, like yeah, like he was so amped, for it and everything. So it was great, and he's so humble. He's super nice. Like me and James are so like overprotective about him. We're like when we had the nomination at a Rapid Lion, he got nominated for Best Actor, and we were like, that is amazing. And sadly, he didn't win, but we won Best Editor, Best Cinematographer, and Best South African Film, which was great. But we were reaching so high, weren't we, James, that he would, get that award. It's such an underdog.
He'll win something. I'm so sure of it. Yeah. I mean, he's one of the main things that all the reviewers talk about, and I'm sure he's destined for glory.
And you just explained a bit about the process of shooting, but how many shooting days did you have, and did you have any kind of breakdown on those days?
So I think it was about 28 days that we shot. But we shot it essentially over the course of a year.
It was not, let's say, a full month.
Yeah, exactly. And normally, if you're shooting a movie like that, it's not going to work because of continuity and everything. But the only continuity we actually needed to worry about was Gary. And Gary never cuts his hair. He never trims his fingernails. So he was good. But even though we shot that way because we had to, the cool thing was that like between the blocks of shooting, we had time to reflect on the story and time to think about where we were going and what we had shot and what we wanted to do better next time.
It made pre-production like so much better. I mean, I think you'll agree, James, that if we shot 28 days in a row, we also wouldn't have the same movie. So
absolutely, I
think we had enough time to shoot it in different blocks and shoot, plan, shoot, plan, and it just went on like that. But it gave us time to really perfect of what we wanted to shoot and what we needed and find the right locations. And me and James also wanted to show Cape Town in a completely different way. That's never been
totally different.
The darker and gritty side. When you visit, we'll take you to the gritty side.
Let's do this.
We wanted something. We'll take you on the Fried Barry tour, and yeah.
So, what would you say it was the hardest thing? There is one question again of did you transform the short into the feature film? So, when you did the short, you were just experimenting, right?
Yeah, there was no plan to do a feature. It was purely a 3-minute. You see, at the time in my career, so I'm known as a music video director in South Africa. So when I shoot music videos, the artists let me do what I want to do and come up with my idea, which is great. But I still gotta, when I do those concepts, I've still got to think about, the type of music, the audience that listens to it has to get on TV. So I got to a point where I was like, I want to shoot what I want to shoot, like my style completely. And I don't have to listen to a studio. I don't have to listen to a client. I don't give a shit if it goes on TV or not. I just want to do what I want to do. So it's been a 4-year project where I get to shoot. I want to shoot 8 experimental films. I think we're on like 6 or 7 now, James. I think 6 or 7. So we've been going through making these experimental films, but completely to do what I want to do and style, and not worry about clients or anything. So Fried Barry was the first out of the collection of experimentals, and the only one that I actually released. All the others aren't released yet, and it just happened to be that was the first film, and it was just. Yeah, I think even when I made that, I think it was probably one of my first pieces of work where I'm like, that's me. That's my style that I've been waiting to do without having to think about, the music or the artists. And even the guy that did the sound design for the short, he did all the music in the feature, which Hayes is such a brilliant artist. He's amazing. And, I will 100% continue working with him for like forever if I could. He's awesome. He's so good.
I mean, how I see it with the short is that even though, like, in terms of the story, they're not really very closely linked, what the short demonstrates is this character of Barry, and it also demonstrates what a powerful actor Gary is. and that was the kind of launch pad that we created the feature from. Is, you know, we looked at the short and we were like, what makes this so good? And, you know, it's the character and it's Gary's acting, and that, you know, that was the kind of thread that we pulled on to kind of follow up on this feature film idea.
Yeah. And I just read now this Geeks Drunken. Thank you very much. Thank you for enjoying our movie. Thanks.
So I told you about that journalist, and he sees some, let's say, influences of John Carpenter and David Cronenberg. Would you agree with both? And most of all, what are your other influences to create such a unique film?
Well, I grew up with John Carpenter, not personally, but I grew up with I grew up with his movies and David Cronenberg, so they are massive influences on me. John Carpenter, David Cronenberg, I can love all their movies. For me, it's like 80s. Like, I'm an 80s kid, so I love fucking all the 80s films, 80s horror, just anything in the 80s. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. They shouldn't remake a lot of this stuff, and it's a big, you know, like I said earlier, like some of the references, whether it's, you know, in Fry Barry, there's so many 80s references, whether it's like Terminator 1 or Aliens or Explorers or E.T. It's a great mixture. I can't remember now, James, if I said before we recorded the mashup, or was it after?
Mashup.
You
know, with the E.T. and Trainspotting.
Oh yeah, no. You said that just now. Yeah.
Okay.
And another cool kind of 80s style that we followed in the film was there's a handful of VFX shots in the film, but pretty much all of the effects in the film are all practical. I mean, like, one of my favorite shots in the film is when Barry's in the spaceship and he's floating up, or he's kind of like, you know, doing the kind of like Matrix move and like falling back in slow motion.
And it works so well.
That's just Gary sitting on a stool with a high-speed camera and some polystyrene like flying around in the air, or it's him jumping on a trampoline. It's these really, really simple, really, really clever filmmaking tricks.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the 80s, and that's what I think where we've gone wrong in cinema today. It's like going back to the old, where, you know, everything's in camera. Like, if you can do it in camera, don't just, you know, when Barry gets abducted on the street and he gets taken up, we could have easily shot that green screen, but I was like, no, like, we have to see him float up. We have to get.
Oh, I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing.
Yeah, and that day, like, James, that was a very stressful day for James.
It was a stressful day.
Hey,
why?
You weren't even the guy that getting. You know, Gary was saying to me, so Ryan, how high am I gonna go? I'm like, dude, you're gonna go to the moon. It's like fucking high. And like, this Gary's like, ugh. So we put him on the, you know, we have a stunt guy rig him up, and then
we had a 12-ton crane parked in the road with, like, you know, this massive arm, and just slowly like lifting him up on this wire. And it was a good like 50 meters up in the sky. We didn't need him to. The shot wasn't even that wide, but we were just like, fuck it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I was saying to Gary, just shake, just keep shaking. And at one point, he got so small because he's so high up. So funny.
Oh man.
So Laura is asking here if you have a main inspiration for the film and for Barry. Specifically.
How's it going? So for Gary, as I said a little bit earlier, one of his main references was it was like the one thing was, I gave Gary Edward Scissorhands, and I said, look at, you know, Johnny Depp in Edward Scissorhands, like, you know, the way he walks and looks around, and because it's like, it's a bit wooden, but it's also a bit like awkward, so it's a bit of both. And then also some of Gary's character was based on Gary himself, so it was a mixture of a lot of things. And then go back again, you know, with bad boy Bubby, but just the interpretation of this person being in a room and then coming out and being like, whoa, what's this world that he hasn't seen? And it was exactly the same. Because I mean, at the same time, the movie, is about a heroin addict that gets abducted by aliens, but it's like an alien tourist on holiday. He's just not doing all the shit that he's just not sunbathing on the beach. That's all.
That's one of the things that, for me,
you wanted them to be on the
film. When I saw the film for the first time, it was just in my mind. That's one of the things that, for me, when I saw the film for the first time. Okay, are you listening to me? I'm listening my own voice.
Yeah, I'm hearing a bit of feedback, but yeah, continue.
I'm like in a Barry's loop. Okay, are you listening to me? I'm listening my own voice.
Yeah, I'm hearing a bit of feedback, but yeah.
I'm like in a Barry's loop. So when I saw the film, I was just thinking that was what a regular alien would think of a human being if he gets to a body like that.
So what?
I think it's funny that this alien comes to Earth and he's trying to kind of experience everything that humanity has to offer, and the kind of main things that he experiences are like doing tons of drugs and having tons of sex. But that's kind of like the first act of the movie, and it's kind of like halfway through the movie he starts to bond with the humans a little bit more, and he starts to kind of like understand the value of human life a little bit more. And by the end of the movie, he's kind of become a lot more human, and he's kind of like a better person than a lot of the people, like a lot of the human beings that we see in the movie. I mean, I definitely think Barry's wife prefers fried Barry to her original husband.
Yeah.
Oh, new cult classic.
We've been getting that a lot. Everybody that's keep watching it keeps on saying, "Oh, it's a cult classic. This is definitely going to be a cult film," which is, it's been amazing that the amount of people that's keep saying that is, it's amazing. It's amazing to even, for even one person to say that. But we've had I don't know, about 50 to maybe even more people keep saying it. So it's like, I hope it can't be all wrong. We're very, very grateful that, and we worked very hard on the film. So to even for people to say that, we're like super grateful. And as a team, we all love working together, and making Fried Barry was so much fun. We had so much fun on set constantly. It was, we had constant fun. There was not one day that didn't go by that we didn't have fun. It's just me and you now, James. That's it.
Okay. Now I think I'm back.
Okay.
Have you got headphones, Ryan? Where are your headphones?
Yeah, I've got headphones.
Okay. It's very low profile.
Are you listening to me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Joel.
Okay. I don't know why, but it's interesting. I'm listening to you, and then I'm listening to you with a 30-second feedback.
Oh, shit. That's Barry trying to talk to you. That's not good.
He's trying to jack into your brain.
Yeah.
You see, that's Gary. That's all Gary.
Yeah.
So, guys, do you want to send a finishing message to the Brazilian fans? They all love your film.
Yeah, I think. Oh, wait, what's this?
Do you want to send a finishing message to the Brazilian fans? They all love your film.
Thank you so much, Lorenzo. Much appreciated. I think if we have to send a message to all the Brazilian fans, thank you so much for watching the movie. Me and James are super grateful. Tell people about it. Share the trailer. Go on Twitter, Instagram, tag us in it, and just get it out there. And that's, when you make a film, we want people to watch it, and that's the main thing. And the more people see it, the happier we're going to be. And just share it on social media, talk about it, send the trailer to people. The more people see it, the happier.
If you share the trailer enough times, then Gary will personally come to your house and smoke crack with you. So you've got that to look forward to.
That's a good deal. I mean, that's a good deal.
That's a great deal.
You'll have to pay for shipping, but you'll get there. If you share the trailer, Barry will do a shout out for that.
Reasonable.
We'll send Gary's underpants in the post.
Ooh.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for playing Fried Barry in Brazil.
Thank you, Joao. Thank you for this interview. It's been fantastic, and thank you for throwing this amazing virtual festival. It's been one of my favorites so far. Thank you, Joao. Thank you for this interview. Fantastic. Thank you for throwing this amazing virtual festival. I can hear myself speaking back.
Bye-bye.
All right, cheery.
Cheers, man. Thank you so much.